This is Ric Ellis, soon to be three-time West Coast heavyweight champion. And we're going drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody, welcome to Drinkin' at Moe's. Your host, Big Mo here. You know, if you're watching the YouTube version, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications because, I got a lot of stuff coming up, with Warrior Wrestling and, local promotion here in town. PWP's got their 17th anniversary. I'm going to be there, so lots of content coming. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google, pretty much anywhere you can find your damn podcast. I got with me today one of my personal favorites, Ric Ellis. How the hell are you doing?
Hey, brother. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I know you got a pretty big event here coming up this weekend, so glad we can get you in before.
Yes.
All right. So first thing I like to start off with each of my guests with is what got you started as a fan, and then what made you decide to make the leap into entering the business?
First of all, being a fan, I grew up playing baseball. I had aspirations to become a professional baseball player. Me and you have the mutual love of the Padres, obviously. I'm sure that'll come up at some point.
Yeah.
That was always the plan. But in high school, I got hurt. I injured my arm, and I kind of fell into wrestling kind of by accident. I went up to visit my grandma and grandpa, who lived up in San Jose at the time. And my initial introduction with wrestling was the night after Owen Hart passed away. So, and I remember sitting there, and I just, plain as day, I remember that graphic, the Owen Hart, in love, big memory of Owen Hart. And I didn't know who Owen Hart was. I didn't know what it was. And I just kept asking my grandma, what is this? Fast forward a couple months later, it was around the Royal Rumble of 2000. And I saw The Rock on TV, and that's pretty much what did it. Like, once I saw The Rock, he was doing a program with Big Show at the time. I just missed the Rumble, but my first pay-per-view was Cactus Jack and Triple H in a Hell in a Cell.
Ooh.
And from that moment, I was hooked. That was the damnedest thing I'd ever seen at that point, and that drew me. So from then on, it was like a light bulb switch. It's like, okay, baseball to wrestling. And that's the tunnel vision.
No, I can understand that. Funny thing, at the time I lived about 2 hours away from Kansas City, and I was like this close to going to that show.
It's always hard for me because it's like whenever I think of Owen Hart, and I did not know, like I said, I didn't know who he was. I had no idea who the Hart family. When I started, I had no idea who Vince McMahon was. That's how new I was. But it's like going back and reviewing tape and watching film and seeing how fantastic of a performer he was, how great in ring he was, and like it was cut short, and it sucked that was my introduction.
Yeah,
but that's a story I'll never forget. I mean, that's something that I will. That visual of that graphic will never leave my mind.
Oh yeah, no, I remember Owen Hart was actually in. Hey, gotta get my dog to shut up. Anyways, Owen Hart was actually in my first ever WWE show. My dad, I think I was in 3rd grade, and my dad got me and him tickets for Christmas, and I was so pumped. I remember we had 4 seats right by the entrance, and Owen was teaming with Coco Beware at the time, and he came by, slapped my hand, and I think the other match I remember right off the bat was Yokozuna versus Big Boss Man.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a little tiny kid at the time, and here comes Yokozuna walking by me, and I'm just like jaw on the floor. Man, that was something else. And like, I think my dad, I remember him telling me at the time that he kind of hoped that would like kind of move me along and I wouldn't be so hooked. But I mean, that only furthered it along, to be honest.
Of course. Yeah. Especially back then, everything is so larger than life, and all the, you know, the superstars of the day.
Mm. Yeah, and I remember,
you know, back then there's a lot of stuff now, even today, that I have not seen. It's just, you know, I've gone back and watched stuff, but it's just like I've missed so much, and it seems like I missed a lot of great stuff too. But it's constantly catch up. You know, there's so much content.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, and that one thing we'll kind of circle back to that a little later, like the sheer amount of choices that there is right now. You know, if you don't like one thing, there's wrestling on just about every damn day of the week. You can find something.
Yeah.
But I remember back then, one of my personal favorites, the Road Warriors, and I actually got to see them live on the first ever televised WWE show I went to, a Monday Night Raw. And I mean, that was between them and Stone Cold, I don't think there was ever another time for a while that, like, from the moment the music hit to the moment they went to the back, I was on my feet the whole time, screaming my ass off. But funny thing, that was also the night, with another Owen story, the night Owen beat then Rocky Maivia for the Intercontinental title. I was in the audience for that one.
Wow, that's incredible.
But yeah, anyways, getting kind of into your career in wrestling, what influenced your style? Because for those that might listen or watch, when I first met you, it was New Wave Pro in San Diego, and
yes.
I just remember thinking your style reminded me of a mix of it was like Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit just matched into one thing. And I remember I was in the first or second row, and I mean, you can't get away with this now, but I remember, I don't know how you did, but you literally like hocked a loogie in a guy's face. And I remember that happening a couple times that I saw you. And I remember the next time that I saw it happen, I just sit in front row. I'm like, he's not me. He's not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, what kind of influenced your style?
Well, so fast forward a little bit. It was WrestleMania 20. Chris Benoit won the heavyweight championship in that triple threat. That's the match that took the interest and made it a passion. So that's the match that made it not only possible that I could do it, but I had to do it. The next year was WrestleMania 21 in LA. This was 2005, and it was Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. And seeing that match live, that solidified any doubt that I would have ever had. I said, no matter what happens, I will step foot in that ring at least one time and give it everything I got, because if you look at my style, it's no secret. It's guys like Kurt Angle. It's guys like Chris Benoit. It's guys like later going back. It's Dynamite Kid, like taking little bits of pieces. And then, you know, later on, once I got into indie wrestling, it's taking parts of like Davey Richards and a little bit of Brian like guys like that. And it's no secret, I'm the same, you know, kind of build or size of that. I'm not 6'5", and I'm not doing like Bradshaw fallaway slams, you know. So it's keeping my style within that, you know, that reality-based style, because that's what hooks me. Because when they hit the ropes, you believed it. When they hit you, when they chopped you, when they kicked you, you believed it as a kid. And that's something that I always took.
Oh,
you know, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, wrestling is predetermined, or wrestling is this, or wrestling is fake. People want to call it. But when you see me hit somebody for a slight second, you believe it. You have to be reminded, oh, I'm watching a show right now, not a real fight. And so that was always my goal. And again, looking down the line of who I've been influenced by, it's no secret. But those are the guys. So that's the style.
I was gonna say Dynamite Kid would be another guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, you brought up Dave Richards. I'm actually going to be meeting him in like a little over 2 weeks at the wrestling show. He's facing off against Will Ospreay.
Yes, that's
oh man, that between that and the Jonah and Jeff Cobb match, I'm like, oh, I can't wait.
So I remember in training, they kept saying, "Oh, you remind me of Davey." You remind me, and I was like, "Who is Dave?" Like, because I didn't know indie wrestling. Like, I didn't grow up on that. I didn't know, and so I finally saw something, and I went to a PWG show. It was Bola, and it was Davey Richards versus Bryan Danielson, and that match again. I saw that live, and that influenced every, I saw Davey in the ring, and I saw me, and I said, "Listen, I can't wrestle Dynamite Kid for obvious reasons. I can't wrestle Chris Benoit for obvious reasons. I can't wrestle Kurt Angle for obvious reasons." I said, "Davey Richards is that next step, so it's that progression, that evolution, if you would." So I always looked at myself in that mode. So
no, it definitely fits. There's definitely a lot of similarities there. What were you got any stories from back then? What were your first going into wrestling for them?
For New Wave. So New Wave Pro Wrestling has started. I had wrestled. I started training in 2007, and we were looking for a local promotion. I had planned to actually go to EWF to train, but it was a little far out of my zone as a newly graduated high school. So we found New Wave Pro Wrestling. Is it good? Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, I can hear you now. We kind of cut out there for a little bit. I might have to edit a little.
Okay, sorry about that.
There, but no, it's all good. Not your fault. I remember, like, we've talked about it a little bit. That first New Wave match that I actually saw you at was that Tidal Wave show where they had the first crowned the first Rapid Division champion in that ladder match. And man, I was like first or second row, and I'm like, damn, this is intense. And I actually talked with Cadillac the other day, and he was on that show too, and that it was like a street fight.
Yeah.
I just remember when I looked up that promotion, I was dealing with some homesickness, being away from family in the military. And I was like, you know what? I've heard so much about these independent promotions down here in Southern California. So I was in the rec center, just on the computer, typed in pro wrestling in San Diego, and New Wave popped up, and I'm like, I have to check this out. And well, here we are. Who were some of your favorite opponents from back then? Because you had some pretty great matches.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. The ladder match that you saw me in, first of all, I was, as a kid, ladder matches were always my favorite. I just love the crash and burn type style. Like, I've seen some clips since then, and I'm just like, what was I thinking? But that was my first ladder match, and I'm like, I'm getting this in. So I did love that match. I love the talent that was in it. I wrestled Aerial Star That was my debut match. And again, I didn't grow up on indie wrestling. It's just kind of like I knew what I knew from WWE and stuff like that. But Aerial Star was there. SoCal Crazy I was able to get in the ring with. We didn't really have a singles until later on, but I knew the second we touched, like, because he was my trainer. You know, he trained us on Friday nights, and he put us through hell. Like, it was squats, push-ups, lunges. You know, the fireman's carry. And I'm the smallest guy, so I had the biggest guy on my back, like doing squats and stuff. And that's just everybody went to Monday, Wednesday training, but nobody went to Friday training. And I said, that's the class I need to be at. So I didn't miss a Friday class. And it's, you know, a lot of people duck out when it gets really hard, but that's when I took advantage, because that's where you learn. So guys that, Chimera early on, him and Jason Watts, we wrestled them for the tag titles with Aerial Star. They were my first two bigger names, I guess, at that time that I was, you know, that were around the independent scene, and they really helped us a lot break out. Johnny Goodtime, he's wrestled by a couple of different names. He was another one that once I got in the ring with him, I said, okay, I need to step it up. He's a whole different level. So it's guys like that. New Wave gave a very good opportunity to wrestle a lot of good names.
Oh yeah, and that was a place that I definitely frequented down there, and I talked with Cadillac a little bit about this. That show, that final show, I was actually on deployment at the time. We were almost back, and I just missed it. And I'm like, to this day, I'm like, damn it. But I've seen little clips. I heard you had a pretty good match there. And funny story about that show, Jacik at one point had told me that he knew from military that he'd get me a copy of the show.
Okay.
Well, yeah. And he had since explained the situation, but to this day, I still don't have it.
That happens with wrestling sometimes. That's just part of it.
Yeah, no, like I said, he explained it, so I'm like, it's whatever. But, you know, there's some of the matches on that card that I was like, damn, I really want to get footage of that. Like your match, the match with Chris Cadillac, that tag team cage match. I want to see that.
Yep.
But what was that?
They had a great thing going right there.
Oh yeah. What would I talked a little bit to Chris Cadillac about this, but what were some of your thoughts going into that final show?
It was hard for me because I had left New Wave for a time, because I had started up with West Coast Wrestling Company, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I'm sure. But it was a issue of, because there was such a distance between the two shows. And I was booked on New Wave, but also West Coast. And I can say this now because we've all talked about it. We've all matured. We've all grown up. But they told me at the time that if I wanted to choose that show, then I couldn't wrestle for New Wave, pretty much. And they made it clear I could only do one. And me being the workhorse, I said, hey, I'm willing to do 2 shows and three shows. Like, I'll make it work. Let me find a way to make it work. So basically they told me they couldn't, which, I mean, I respect it, but I also said I have to stand up and believe or fight for what I think is right. And it was, I don't believe you should tell a younger wrestler to just do this one show and not do another. And it could be various reasons. It could be heat with promotion. It could be, you know, that they don't like a lower end promotion, but it was just, I wasn't prepared to hear that. And I saw a great opportunity at West Coast. It did pay off. Like, there's no doubt about that. It didn't pay off. I got some incredible opponents there. But for New Wave, it was taking time off. And I think that Tidal Wave show that you went to, the ladder match, I had just recently come back. So I was in that mode of, okay, there's all these new guys at New Wave. let's remind them what they lost. And it wasn't an arrogant thing, but for me, it was, okay, let's step it up and let's show people, because they probably don't remember me anymore because I don't really wrestle in San Diego that much. So let's give them a show. Let's make them believe it. And that was my goal. And every time I went out there, you know, New Wave took care of me incredibly well, just like West Coast has. It's just, you have to do what's best for your career at the time, and you make decisions. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But you got to be a man and stand up for what you believe in. And that's something I believed very early on.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that being the first show that I saw you at definitely put an impression on me, because I'm like just watching you. And I remember the guys that really draw me in are those ones that they just ooze that intensity, and you definitely had that.
Yeah,
it just made that impression on me. And you know, we talked a little bit about SoCal Crazy. I mean, for those watching the video version of this, I got on his shirt right now.
Great shirt. Yep.
He wouldn't let me pay for it. I asked about getting a shirt and, you know, how much I owed him, and he just nope, wouldn't let me. But him and I, we've definitely become pretty good friends. I consider him like a brother now.
Yeah. And I think that's the resounding thing with SoCal Crazy. It's once you've met him, once you know him, once you, like, especially for us, once you've shared time in the ring, you have a bond. And it's something I could go 10 years without seeing him, and it's like no time has passed. It's just he's my trainer, just like Andy was my trainer, just like Trevor from New Wave were my trainers. Like, I can go decades without seeing him, and it's the same. Like, I will never. I try to post about it as often as I can. Like, if it's a throwback or something like that, or a video, I really try to give them credit, because they deserve it. They, you know, I want them to be proud of what I've done. Am I ever going to do it? I don't know. We'll see. But that's my goal. It's okay. Let's try and, you know, give them a student that they could be proud of. So that's always my goal.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure they are. So speaking of SoCal Crazy and going into this show that you have on the 15th, he is actually going to be making a special appearance that night.
Yes.
So that's going to be something pretty special, because ever since, and I mean, him and I talked about it on his episode about the health issues he's had, and you know, he's seemingly doing a hell of a lot better than he had been. What are your? I can imagine, you know, you being in like the main event of that show, that you're probably pretty excited to be seeing him on top of your match.
Selfishly, I know the match with Brandon Gatson will be a fantastic match. We gel very well. We've worked very well. It's just a match kind of made heaven type of thing if you're a wrestling fan. But nothing compares to being able to see SoCal Crazy there on Sunday. I have my shirt. The reason I'm not wearing it today is because it's in the wash, because I'm going to wear it up on Sunday. And it's going to be really awesome to see all the guys there just kind of crowd him and give him the respect that he deserves. I mean, I've said in posts, he's a legend. Yeah, he really is. Everybody in SoCal, like, I always joke it's part of his name, but I mean, he is Southern California wrestling. Like, that's the guy right there. That's who everyone aspires to be like.
Oh yeah, no, he quickly became one of my favorites down there. And do you have maybe him and I hadn't talked about this aspect of that appearance, but do you have any idea like what he's doing, or is it just like come in, do like speech in the ring sort of deal? Or,
you know, for me, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't know the plans for the promotion. I don't know what's the idea going on, but the way I see it,
Yeah.
SoCal Crazy is able to do whatever the hell he wants to do. So if he wants to come in and set a table in the middle of the ring and say, hey, this is the show, then by God, that's the show. And you know what? I mean, everybody would be cool with it. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's a promo. I don't know if it's an interaction. I don't know. You know, he could come in and sell a couple shirts. I mean, he's going to have the longest line at the merch table if he's there. And again, deservedly so. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm always hyper focused and amped up for my shows and my matches, but I can't wait to see him and tell him how much I appreciate him. And I've told him before, it's not something that, oh, well, you know, you should tell him because stuff like this has happened. Like I very much try to tell people how I feel. I'm an open book. I don't want them to know, hey, I wonder what this guy ever thought of me. I'm going to shoot you straight. And I've told them several times, I owe you so much. So it's just going to be great that I can see him in person and tell him one more time. Because I can never tell him enough. Never.
Oh, yeah. I know he's told me when he makes his eventual return to, you know, in-ring competition that he's wanting me there. So I'm like, hey, just give me enough notice. And he's told me I've had a few people say that all I need to do is just get the damn plane ticket. And I don't got to worry about a spot to stay. So, I mean, shit, if that's all it's going to take for me to be able to go.
And like I said, like so I've told you as well, Mo, like I give you so much credit for reaching out to people, asking them to be on the podcast, you know. And like I said, I've told you this, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but by right, you have no right to get some of the guests that you've had that early on. But because of you and your commitment to it already, which you could tell, like you put out content like nobody else. I don't see anybody else doing it. And that's to be commended. And wrestling works in mysterious ways. So I'm sure you got plenty of connections right now, and it's only going to go up. So my hat's off to you, man. Like, honestly, I've told you before, and I mean 100%. So I appreciate it's something when, of course.
But like you said, a lot of it has really just been, you know, starting with the guys here locally that I know, and then reaching out. Like I knew out of SoCal guys, you know, I wanted to get you, I wanted to get SoCal Crazy, Jacik, and then some of the other nationally known guys. It was more of a, this might be a long shot, but let's see if it works.
And that's what you have to do. I mean, then a lot of people don't have the balls to do it, but you do. And that, I mean, it works out, you know. And what's the worst thing? If they say no, okay, I'll get you next time. You'll be on there eventually. So.
Yep. And, well, before we get to the show on the 15th, there was another cool thing that I don't think that I've actually told you in particular. There's the show that I'm going to on the 18th. A popular local ice cream spot, Ted and Wally's. Shout out to Ted and Wally's. I reached out to them because they sponsored that show, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe a sponsorship. And then they're telling me they'll make me a flavor, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Have at it. You run with it while you can, man. I told you that before too. Run till the wheels fall off.
I mean,
it's fun, man. Wrestling, and it doesn't have to just be in the ring, but wrestling is honestly what you make it. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. It doesn't matter if you're an announcer, an interviewer, a podcast. Like, there's so many avenues to help grow the business. And, you know, I saw you did the ring announcing too, like back in the day. Like, I'm sure you're going to be doing that a lot more in the future. So it's one little door opens up.
I'm not gonna pass it up.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely not gonna pass it up if I'm ever offered the opportunity. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyways, I don't want to, take up too much of the show not talking about this show on the 15th. But like we kind of talked a little bit going into the main event for the West Coast Wrestling Company's title for Anna Gatson in a 30-minute Iron Man match. What is your thoughts going into that? Because, you know, whether 30 minutes, an hour, an Iron Man match is one intense match.
Again, you go back. If you hear Iron Man, you think of guys like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Angle, Danielson, Benoit, like the guys that can go, the guys that no matter what, they suit up their boots and they go. And that's, again, Brandon Gatson. There's not many that are better than him inside the ring. He should be so far ahead of everybody. He should be making so much more money than everybody. And he deserves that spot. And he deserves to be at the head of any company he wishes to be. And I'm glad that I'm in there with him. He was my first match back after maybe 5-6 years off. And it was a big deal to come back against him. We had a whole program, you know, pretty much from May till September last year. And it's obviously hasn't stopped because now we got a 30-minute Iron Man match in a couple days. So I know he doesn't mess around, man. He is one of the most dedicated, talented wrestlers there is. And every chance I get to step in the ring with, I would wrestle him every single day if I could. Every single day. And that's how you get better, because he is the standard.
Oh yeah. And like I've told a lot of people with different avenues in like life in general, when it comes to, you know, competitive things, you only get better by going up against people at a level like that might be a level or two above you.
Absolutely.
It forces you to go to that extra level to be like, you know what, I got to figure out what I got to do to get up there, and then therefore getting better by that.
My first title reign for West Coast, and it was wrestling guys like, I believe Scorpio Sky was one of my bigger names, quote unquote. And I felt I just shit the bed, like in the match, because you could tell if it's a good match, you could tell if it's a good performance. And I just felt like I let people down. And I said, Scorpio Sky is another one. He is on such an insane level that he makes it look easy. And that's what I like. That's what I've tweeted about it before. Some of my 3 a.m. tweets when I got nothing going on, but just my thoughts and my training. But I want to be on that list. You know, Scorpio Sky, Brandon Gatson, Brian Cage, like these guys that I wrestled, that they were on my list. And I want to be on other people's. I want to be on up-and-comer wrestlers' lists. You know, again, that's my goal. I'm not there yet, but that's why I put in the work to get there. You know, I took a lot of time off, you know, because of injuries and stuff. I'm back. I feel better than I have since, honestly, I started wrestling. So I feel like I'm starting brand new. So that's, you know, it's time to take my place. So that's the goal, man. That's the goal.
You definitely earned it. And I know we've talked a little bit about someday soon you doing some shows out here by me. And I know I've got a little bit of a list of guys that I'm like, you know what? You and them would do pretty great stuff together. So, I mean, who knows? I know both of the promoters here in town, so who knows? Yeah. Maybe we can get something done there.
Something, yep.
But let's see here. I like to talk a little bit about, you know, something outside of wrestling. You and I both have a love of Padres baseball together. What are some of your thoughts on like this season? Like, I know I'm in a fantasy baseball league, and I have Hosmer, Machado, handful of the pitchers, and I mean, up until like this week, they had been doing pretty good for me.
Yeah.
This week, they seem to be kind of a little bit of a slump. But what are some of your thoughts?
I mean, every year I go into it saying it's a brand new year, opening day, spring training. You go into it with optimism. Some years, as you know, as a Padre fan, that optimism gets crushed really damn quick.
Yeah.
So I feel like that kind of happened this year with the whole Tatis thing. Like once he was out, the whole lockout thing, we couldn't find out how hurt he was. Like all of a sudden, first day camp, he's out 3 months. It's like that instantly. That's a blow. But to the Padres' credit, like Machado has put them on his back. Hosmer has had a great comeback season. I just hope it continues. Like Hosmer gets a lot of shit online, and it's like but they turn quick if you start playing well and to your ability. And I always believed, say for example, Will Myers, initially he was brought in to be the guy to carry the Padres. Well, it didn't quite work. So you get Hosmer to protect him, to take that pressure off. Now you got Machado. Like Padres are not firing on all cylinders right now, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
Their starters are fantastic. If they all get hot, Voit just came back from his, stint on the IL. Like he hit 2 home runs his second game back.
Yep.
My manager, AJ Wright, he's a diehard Yankees fan. So he's like, when Voit gets hot, you'll love it. When he's not, you'll be. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the story of the Padres' life. But I got a little thing at Petco Park right here. Sometimes you see it. I work right outside of Petco Park at night. So I'm constantly, baseball is my first love. So I'm a Padres fan through and through, no matter what happens. I joke about it. I said, even if I want to quit and say, forget this team, piss off, like my son loves it so much that I am cooked for life as if I wasn't already. But that's a bucket list item to the Padres to become a World Series champion. Oh, yeah. And one day it'll happen. One day.
Oh yeah. No, they have proven when they are firing on all cylinders, especially with the current roster they have, if they're all healthy, they can do some damage.
Absolutely. Yes. Yep. And that's the thing. Like I follow this page on Instagram, and it kind of lists like the standings of each Padres season, like when they were, like the winning years, 96, obviously 98, 84, and it kind of shows you the breakdown. And we are right in line with 98. And to me, that just means, okay, you got there, you have to keep it going. Like winning into June doesn't do shit. Like you gotta, it's like the Nationals. The Nationals, like they were awful a couple years back, but then they hit that one run, and then they just blew it open. The Braves last year, they lost to Cunha, and they're like, well, there goes our chance. But you had guys step up, and that's what has to happen. Like it's 25 men in the roster. You got to count on all of them. So that's baseball. It's a different sport, but I can't turn my back on. Once I love something, once I have a passion, there's no. So
no, yep, I'm with you there, and I definitely miss going down to Petco Park. I stationed down there. I go down a handful of times a season, and I don't know if you more than likely have heard the news about the potential acquisition of Robinson Cano.
Yeah, and I believe it just happened.
They just finalized it? I hadn't heard if it got
confirmed. Yeah, because I think they said he may be available for tonight's game.
I was going to say that they said that it was close, but I hadn't heard yet if it got confirmed. And I mean, he is a dude. If he's healthy, he can go.
And that's the thing. Like he's not expected to come in and take Cronenworth's spot. He's not going to take Machado. Like these guys are set where they're at, but he can come off the bench. He's a veteran that's going to help. I mean, even if he is remotely close to what he was, like, in his good years, then
Yeah.
that's a sign. The problem with the Padres is once they get a good player or a player that has proven himself in the past, sometimes they kind of go backwards and revert a little bit. So I'm hoping this is one of the ones that plays out. So we've seen it before. The Padres curse.
Yeah, I remember back when Padres got Greg Maddux, and him with the Braves, it was like, oh boy, Greg Maddux, and then he kind of fizzled out there.
Yeah,
there was kind of that joke going around that pitchers came to San Diego to die.
Yes. Yep.
Like, that's where they went to.
Yeah. Any talent that comes here, it's I don't know if they get too comfortable. I don't know. Like, it's taken Manny a couple years. I mean, I was not the biggest Manny Machado fan before he was a Padre. I was not. I didn't.
Me too.
Listen, you see my wrestling style. I expect you to play and hustle and give 100%. That's just how I envision. And he made those comments back then, and I didn't buy into it. I said, well, man, like, this guy's making millions a year and can't even run down the baseline, but I have completely changed. He's done nothing but become a great leader. He's done nothing but contribute to the team. I mean, defensively, he's incredible. Offensively, when he gets hot, it's just that there's no one better, and you're seeing it. And he's putting up incredible numbers right now. I hope it continues because he gets a lot of shit throughout the league. Some of it, I think that they need a bad guy to root against, and he fits that mold. But he deserves huge things. I'm so glad he's a Padre. So glad.
Oh yeah, I remember. I'm right with you when he before he joined the Padres. I'm like, I never really liked him, and then seeing how he's kind of, like you said, shown up as a leader of the team. My dog Forrest, but but yeah, as he's shown up as a leader of the team, it's been like, okay, I can really get behind that guy.
Yep, absolutely. And he's we saw it last year with the Tatis blow up in the dugout, and it wasn't a huge thing that everyone said, oh, the Padres are imploding, how dare but like, you need that. And he was firing Tatis up. He was firing everybody up. It's the same as if a manager goes out and gets ejected. Like, you're doing it, you're putting on the show, like you're getting your money's worth. So, he's fit into that role great. I think Hosmer is a team leader as well, but he's more the laid back type, and Machado's going to give it to you. If you're on the mound and you're not pitching well, he's going to go up there. He's going to call the shots. We've seen it hundreds of times, and that's what a leader does. He calls you out on your bullshit, and he tells you what you need to improve on, and that's Manny. And he backs it up. That's the biggest thing. He backs it up. Oh yeah, no. So
he definitely does. And sometimes in competitive sports, hell, sometimes life in general, sometimes you just need that leader to light a fire under your ass, and he is definitely the type to do that.
Yes. So I have no complaints whatsoever about Machado. And he's been great for Tatis, building him up. Not that Tatis needs a whole lot of help, but I mean, it's good to have that presence because Machado was that younger player. He's still young, but I mean, and so it's getting those veterans to kind of show Tatis the way, and these other younger guys like Cronenworth and stuff. Like, once we get them all firing on the same cylinder, watch out. So.
Oh yeah, you get that team firing on all cylinders and they're all healthy. They're going to show people what they're really capable of. I got no doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right. Last two things, kind of a group of things that I like to do. One is a little bit of a speed round. I name off some people and you give me your thoughts. First off, the guy we kind of talked a little bit about, SoCal Crazy.
He's the benchmark. He's the standard. He's who every wrestler wants to be. He's who every wrestler wants to get in the ring with. You know, everybody wants his position, if you would. They want the respect that he garners. I mean, that's what wrestling is, respect, right? Mm-hmm. You want the respect from the fans. You want respect from the peers, promoters. That's when I think of SoCal Crazy, one word is respect. That's it.
Definitely. Next off, guy that was also in that final New Wave show, B-Boy.
So me and B-Boy, we had wrestled twice before, and what I appreciated about B-Boy is I asked him to watch one of my matches for a newer company, and it was a triple threat match. Now, this match, like I just said earlier, about 20 minutes ago, when it's the shits, you know it's the shits. I don't need to be told it's the shits.
Yeah.
But I went there, and I wasn't going to ask him for advice because, you know what, I shit the bed. Like, I got knocked out in the match, and I couldn't remember anything. My brother was in the match. It was like his second match ever. And then another worker that he doesn't really wrestle anymore, but he's a great talent, Robert Hall, but he wasn't really experienced either. And the match just fell apart. But B-Boy came up to me after. He said, man, that sucked. And I said, yeah, I know. And I said, so tell me what I could do to improve. And I think he took to it because I didn't, throw a fuss about it. I didn't complain that he told me he sucked. I can take constructive criticism. Like I said, I already know. I know the second we lock up if it's going to be good or not, So there's very few guys that I'll reach out to and ask them their thoughts or how they feel about it. He was one of them. I don't want to say we've had a falling out. We just haven't talked because he really got going as I was taking my time off, and he started opening up, Level Up and everything. And it's really right down the street for me. It's maybe 10 minutes away, and I've gone there to train a couple times when I was doing some Arizona shows, but I don't think I've seen him for probably since 2011, 2012, maybe. So I'm happy for his success because he deserves it. He's been at it a long time too. Again, he's the standard and the benchmark for SoCal wrestling. And, he's one of those guys, if I saw him tomorrow, it'd probably be the same thing. Like, it would be not a lot of time had passed, and I would love a chance to wrestle B-Boy again because you're going to do nothing but learn in that situation. And that's what I crave. I crave to get better. And he's the type to make you better.
Oh, yeah. Yep, he was another one of my favorites from my time down there. And like I said, with the guys that ooze that intensity, he was trying to keep my dog from bumping the camera here. But he was another one of those that had that intensity. And, you watch him and it's like he just draws your attention. And I know he's quite the busy man as of late, coming back from that injury that he had, that pretty nasty injury. And now it's like he's wanting to make up for lost time.
Absolutely.
He's on and I mean, hey, he deserves all the good things he's got coming to him. He's done some pretty great things there with GCW.
Yep.
I remember him, I think it was one of his first matches back, the Hammerstein Ballroom show they had coming out for that Battle Royal. And remember when I saw him come out, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was so pumped seeing him there for that. All right, next off, one of your trainers, Andrew Jacik.
Again, I could not see him for 20 years, and I come back and it's the same thing. Like me and him, we hit it off in training. I think early on he saw something in me that I was one of the trainees that is going to make it somewhere, and not just, he's going to take my money and just teach me how to fall and take a bump. And, he thought that I was making, so he always pushed me. He always pushed me. Every time I got in the ring with him, it was great. It was an awesome experience. I told the story on our random podcast that we do. But wrestling him, I think my second to last time, he told me at the end, he said, "Man, you got good." Like, and that means a lot from your trainer, to hear that. Like, however the match may have been presented, like to hear him say that was like, okay, I'm going in the right direction. That's what you need to hear. And he brings out the best, because me and him are very different. Like, he does a lot of comedy in the ring, and I try to, I really kind of stay away from the comedy. But behind the scenes, man, we're so alike. Where our senses of humor are spot on, and we'll just laugh about the stupidest shit. But to us, it's great. So it's that bond that we have.
Oh yeah, I think that's one thing that him and I definitely get along so well with each other, is a similar sense of humor. I don't know if it's the sixth sense of humor that the military sometimes brings out of you or what, but ever since here as of late, him and I chat back and forth a handful of times a week. Him and SoCal Crazy both, I think of them both like brothers.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That they're good guys to have in your corner, pulling for you, for sure.
Definitely. All right, last guy, you may not have faced off against him. I know I would mind seeing it. One of my personal favorites right now, Tomohiro Ishii.
Ishii, okay, so that's a guy. So him and Shibata, their Wrestle Kingdom match. That's a match that I could put on no matter what. Like, wrestling, I feel like you kind of have moods. Like, you want to see certain, like sometimes you want to see a ladder match. Sometimes, and for me, that's one of those matches that I could put on and just watch two grown men just beat the shit out of each other. And that's what I love. The intensity. Like, when I first saw him, I said, I'm not going to like this guy. Like, you just kind of get those feelings in your head or in your thought process. But it took maybe 2 minutes into the match to say this guy. I think I saw him work Omega, and I was blown away. Like, because at that point, Omega is so good. He's just head and shoulders above everybody. And Ishii was a perfect opponent. You wouldn't think so, but he is. He's incredible. So he's one of those guys, like, I try to go out of my way to watch. I don't watch a whole lot of the current product right now. I'm pretty busy with the 3 kids and working and training and trying to get my own stuff. But I mean, he's one of those guys I love to watch. Like I said, him and Shibata, when I'm doing late night cardio, that's a match I'll put on, and that'll remind me of what I'm doing.
Oh yeah. And I mean, he's been doing some pretty amazing things as of late. He's all over the place. Impact, New Japan stuff, going over to AEW for some times. And I remember the first time I saw him, I forget which Wrestle Kingdom it was, but I remember, over here you see guys do headbutts, and it's like, okay, that looks like it would hurt.
Yeah.
But you're like, you see him do a headbutt like I saw him do in that first time I actually saw him wrestle, and this is one of the things that drew me to him. You literally hear the bone on bone of skulls, just like, God damn, my head hurt.
Yeah.
And I like it with him, especially when he has a title and he's carrying that to the ring. He just looks like you'd have to damn near kill him to take that damn thing from him.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's that realism. It's that he sets himself apart, and that's what it's about. That's what wrestling is about.
I mean, this guy is kind of, I think of them kind of similarly, but they definitely have their differences. But Minoru Suzuki.
Yes.
I think of them in that same boat.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
All right. Last little bit here. Ask you a few random questions, and you answer them how you see fit. All right. Favorite Padres memory?
Going to Qualcomm with my dad, and I was at the game. It was the NLCS, I believe, against the Astros, and Randy Johnson was pitching.
Oh.
And as a kid, I was like, man, there's no way the Padres are going to beat Randy Johnson. There's just no way. Like, they had those like flags, like the San Diego Padres flags, and seeing all the fans like waving the flags around. Like, that was a scene that made me, I don't know what I was, maybe 11 or I don't know how old I was, but something around there. But seeing that, you get that. That was my first playoff game, for example. You know, as a Padres fan, you don't see it too often, so you better take advantage of that. So that's a memory that sticks out. And Musgrove's no hitter, I remember watching it at work, and I just was in shock because you're accustomed to believe that the Padres are whatever's going to go wrong is going to go wrong. And I remember my coworkers, they're like, you're not reacting. And I said, I'm in shock. And it didn't hit until almost a day later. And that's such a huge moment. And I'm so glad it's from a hometown pitcher, a hometown player. And that's a moment that'll always stick out.
Oh, definitely. Craziest thing you've ever done in a match?
One of them was against Ariel Star in that last New Wave show that we just talked about that you didn't go to. Yeah. Ariel Star had just come back, or he was doing kind of like his retirement match type thing, and they put me and him together because I started with him. He was my first match. And I always like to do the tope con hilo through the ropes. Like, that was just my dive. You know, I grew up, like, I watched Davey, and he just reckless abandon through the ropes. And I said, I'm going to do the dive, and you're going to move. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you're going to move, and I'm just going to crash into the chairs. And so I hit the ring, ball of fire, and just, like, he ducked or moved out of the way. I went into all the chairs. Like, if you see the video, like, you'll see my wife and her sister just sitting there. And there's a couple times, like, in that ladder match where I did that dive and they held up the ladder. Like, my wife is just sitting there like, what is this? Because she's not a wrestler. Like, she didn't grow up watching wrestling. She didn't know what it was. So it's like, but for me, it's like those spots that create a moment. And that Ariel Star match, I was walking sore it was a good month. Like, I was hurt. I was beat up. But for the match, I never regretted it. I said at one point I'll probably do it again, but you know, it's. I remember hearing a story of like Dynamite and Benoit in Japan. They would do the shotgun drop kick outside the ring to the floor, and that's just like I heard Davey tell a story. He said I did that one time as a tribute, and he said never again. He said I couldn't walk for 2 months. And it's just one of those spots I'm like, man, that looks so cool, but I don't know if I could go that far. But it's definitely different as you get a little older, you get a little wiser. Now you got 3 kids. It's not just you. Before it was literally balls to the wall, no matter what. You crash and burn. That's the style. Hey, that's what you get up on, and you fight again tomorrow. But those two stand out.
Definitely. All right. Favorite food?
Pizza.
Can't go wrong there.
I mean, I'll just eat pizza anytime. Morning, night, it doesn't matter. Like that's my favorite. I'm a fast food guy, man. I really like. That's probably why I train so much, is because I just love it. I love it, man. Like it's something that I just enjoy, and it's not like, oh well, I do it out of convenience. I mean, I do, but it's so damn good. Like, that's one of my addictions. It's like fast food, and like soda is like a big thing too. So it's like I feel like I train so hard to, in a way, counteract it. But I realized I'd be a lot better.
I'm a soda guy myself.
There you go, Dr. Pepper. That's my drink of choice as well. So.
Oh yeah. Oh hell, with fast food, if you ever get out here, I'm gonna have to take you to Runza. It's a place it's a fast food place, but literally anytime any big name person comes to the state and they get asked where's one place to go, that's one of the places, because, you know, in my opinion, they have the best fast food fries anywhere.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
and when you come out here, I'll have to take you to Burger King to get some tacos.
Burger King tacos. I remember you and I talking about that. I'm like, damn it, we've never had tacos. We had like hot dogs for a while, but I'm like, damn it, if I'm gonna get a fast food hot dog, I'm going to Sonic.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. I love food.
All right. Favorite thing to do on your day off?
Spending as much time as I can with my kids. That's my biggest thing. I'm a very boring person when it comes time to interest and outside things. Like I love to lift weights. I love to challenge myself in the gym. Like that's my biggest hobby, or that's my biggest passion, I guess, outside of wrestling, though, is just training. So I'm very rare do I get a day off. It's certainly not planned. It's if work gets too hectic or something, and it just kind of I learned from Jacko, and he said don't plan your days off. He's like, if you need a day off, take it tomorrow. If you're gonna procrastinate that. Make it the next day or the next day, and that goes into my mind a lot. Like, so if you see a day off from the gym for me, and I post workouts to keep myself accountable. Yep. And it's like, if I see 2 days out of the month that I've missed, I'm like, oh, that looks bad. People are going to think I'm slipping. And I feel it. It's not for them. It's for me. It's to keep me on track, because I need that. I need that accountability. But
no, I think that's one thing that kind of has kept me from really getting into working out, is like, especially if I'm going by myself, it's like, even if I have a podcast going or music, I'll end up getting bored like half an hour in, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to give you a chance to, where can people find you? Social media, and you got your podcast, Random Podcast, which, by the way, thank you guys for all the help and spreading the word on my show. So
absolutely,
to definitely turn there, give you a chance to plug that on here. Plug the upcoming West Coast Wrestling Company show. Anything else you got coming up?
Okay. Well, most of my social, it's I'm more active on Instagram and Twitter. I don't like to deal with Facebook that much, but I'm pretty much Ric Ellis 88 on those other two. If you can find me on Facebook, by all means, add me. It's fine. Like I told you, I'm a pretty open book. Like I post about my kids all the time. Like, a lot of people are iffy on that. I'm like, hey, you know me, you know everything. So that's what it is. But you can follow me there. We do the Random Podcast, like you talked about. I post stuff about that all the time, so you can find it, the handle from there. And that's just something that we've done for a couple of years. We've had some starts and stops, but that was with my good buddy AJ Wright. He's my manager, my agent, if you will. And we just get together and talk shit about wrestling, and we love food. He's a diehard Yankee fan. I'm a diehard Padres fan. Eric Cross is a diehard Dodger fan, and we're all part of a faction. So how does that work? But somehow we make it work. So that's it. If you want to follow me, prepared to see a lot of stuff about kids, a lot of stuff about training. The occasional Jack Nicholson gif, if you would, on Twitter, and just talking about Padres. That's it. That's my life in a nutshell. Family, baseball, wrestling, and training.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. And a little bit about that show. You mentioned that they aren't really on a streaming platform. have any idea of like when they might have footage of that show out? Because I'm curious about getting to watch that show.
Yeah, so that I'm not sure. I do know it's an outdoor event this time. They usually do it inside at the Wheelhouse over in Hemet, but our May shows there have been outside. Usually, the promotion will get the footage out on YouTube. So that's probably the way that it's going to come out.
Okay.
I don't really have a timeline. Editing is not my forte whatsoever. Any type of technology, like even this, like I'm shocked that we made it through this interview without it crashing and me throwing the phone through the wall. So so we better wrap up quick. So
yeah. No, we've really only had the one little slip of, and that's really not going to take me much to edit out. I've kind of got it down to where I can get it done pretty easily.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that comes out soon, because there's a lot of great matches on there. There's a lot of great talent that the West Coast always books, and I believe we've been underappreciated or undervalued or overlooked, however you want to say it. But I mean, the shows, if you go there and you see them, you're going to see a great show, top to bottom. Like I said, that 30-minute Ironman match with two wrestlers, that's the key. That it's not two guys trying to play. It's not two guys like, oh, maybe they shouldn't be in this spot. No, you want to see a wrestling match. You complain that you had 3 years of you can't go out to shows because of COVID and shutdowns and stuff. It's like, okay, we're giving you a wrestling show that will be worth your time and worth your money.
No, definitely.
Then, like I said, to top it off, SoCal Crazy special appearance. God knows what he's going to do. I can't wait to see him. I know the fans can't wait to see him. And that's a huge, huge thing to have him come out, and we can all tip our hat to him and we appreciate him and love him.
I'm definitely going to have to be asking him tonight what he might be doing. You know, maybe I can get a little bit out of him. I don't know. But, you know, this I should be able. The podcast version's a little easier. I'm able to get it out a little bit quicker. The YouTube version ends up, for some reason, some of the videos take a little while, but I can probably be get it started uploading, depending on how the whole editing process takes. I can probably at least get the upload started tonight. Should be tomorrow. It might be day of, depending. I don't know, but it'll be out. It'll be out.
Well, this weekend. Once it's out, I'll be promoting it. So it's good.
Definitely.
We talked about things about this show and things not on the show, so it'll still be relevant. So it's good.
Yep. Nope. Definitely going to appreciate that. Anyways, that is about all I have for today. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I know we mentioned off camera, you got some stuff you got to get to tonight, so I appreciate you being able to take the time to talk.
I thank you very much. I wanted to be on since you started this project, and I'm happy to be a guest. And I will support you until you say, "Hey, all right, stop retweeting, stop plugging me." That's my thing, man. If I support you, I'm going to support you. I'm going to give you what I got. So I appreciate you doing what you're doing, and I'm glad you're having fun with it, which is the number one thing. Like, I can tell you're having fun, and I can't wait to see what you do in the next coming 6 months to a year with this project. So hats off to you, and congrats on your success, but it's only the surface. You're gonna rise all the way up. So keep it up, man.
I appreciate it.
Always. Yeah.